So welcome, it's a big honor. Today we have a guest here in Austria, Mr. Sanjay Talva, a filmmaker. He's on tour. He won over 100 prizes with his last movie, The Mahalakshmi Path, and it's a great honor to welcome him here. And we are just having a brief talk about who he is and about his projects and our projects and how there will be projects we'll do together in the future. So welcome
Thank
to
you.
Austria, even you leave soon, but
Yeah.
welcome to Austria. May you introduce a little bit about yourself? And
Thank you, Tarakeshwara. It's been a pleasure to be here in Vienna, especially in Austria now, where you live in Forlach, in the mountains. I have had a very wonderful time here in Austria with great hospitality and a great experience of the place. I didn't know this was a very spiritual place of the world. But before, of course, I will introduce myself. I am Sanjay Roshan Talwar from India, and I've been meditating all my life since the age of 27. Today I am going to be 70. It's been a long journey for me, and I'm a filmmaker, and I have made two films. First film, and both films are on spirituality. The first film is Graha Lakshmi, The Awakening, and the second film that I've just concluded in 2023 is Mahalakshmi Path, The Evolution, which Tarakeshwar had mentioned about. He is very right. This topic is of great value to me in my heart because all my years of meditation would have gone to naught had I not come out with this proposal of making films, because I wanted to share what I gained from my spiritual experiences in life, and I wanted to share with all the people how these experiences can bring you to a state of self-correction, of understanding the surroundings, the people, the world around you, and then connecting with the great power of this creation which is around us, which is made by the Almighty, that we have to recognize and we have to surrender to that great power that runs our life, and then connect our inner power, which is the Kundalini. This is the place, the land, India, where the Kundalini of the world resides, and that's my experience, that's my research, as you may call it, that I have spent more than 40 years trying to meditate on my Kundalini to rise, and the process is, of course, as we go ahead and talk about this, we can talk about our projects. I am very happy that Tarakeshwara is taking this opportunity to introduce me in your land, and I will love to talk about my project. But before I do that, I would also like to tell you that Tarakeshwara also has been in this field of meditation and research, and a lot of work he has done in this field of spiritual research. And I would like Tarakeshwara, please tell us something about what you are doing with your creative talent, and so far what are you doing to bring out movies, the kind of movies that I have come up with. What kind of projects do you have in mind?
yeah, we have a project which hopefully we will have a little meltdown of two projects. But because in India it is hidden the true knowledge of spirituality. There's a lot of impure knowledge also because it's mixed up. But once I find so interesting with your movies is that it's based on the true knowledge, this ancient knowledge since thousands of years that really works. How is the divine creation? And my special field, I always was interested what happened in the lives of these old gurus, these ancient gurus, the masters, the incarnations, and if, like in the life of Jesus, some years are missing, can we find a way what happened during these years? And through meditation, and then I started using even kinesiology to find out details, because all these informations are still there. It's just the questions if we can read it. And then 12, 13 years ago, I had this idea about Durga's life. I always was fascinated by Sri Durga. If you never heard about it, just investigate it a little bit, Google it, you will see it's a very interesting incarnation, an ancient incarnation of the primordial loving principle of the mother, who with full fierceness and strength fights for the benevolence, for the life, for the survival of her children, and children even in a wider sense, all the people who are seekers of spirituality. So that's how I somehow ended up in the Ice Age, and I worked on, I meditated many years, and I found out what was the story of these first and primordial incarnations, when did it happen. And so we're working on a pilot, will be kind of a drama, docu-drama to begin with, for a series about the whole life of Sri Durga and all her battles against the evil forces, which are very well documented in India in the Markandeya Purana. So India kept this incredible knowledge, and that's the real amazing quality India has, to keep something for thousands and thousands of years. Because here, for all that wars and one culture came after the other, everything is lost, more or less, or very deep down in the subconscious. And so now the story is complete, and we are ready to start and kick off. And it's such a beautiful, strong, loving and fierce story, and it can give so many lectures to us as human beings about life. What shall we tolerate? What can't we tolerate to survive as an individual or as a society? So that's an amazing, beautiful story which plays in Paleolithic Eurasia as such, and with a unique setting, and it's our common heritage and history we all have together in a time like 40,000 years ago.
Oh.
And you have to think of an incarnation, a strong, powerful young lady in a devastating time where the female was just like a currency, very ill-treated, and then the one riding the tiger, and that's already the symbol for her strength and for her power and her courage, And so that's a very interesting project, which hopefully will end up in a series with a couple of seasons. And everything is in preparation. There's already scripts of some episodes, and that was my point, where we will join again with India and the present, because you are working on a similar project in a way, but completely different, about the other end, not the beginnings, but the current, what's the new development, what's the latest evolution of spirituality. And this I find so interesting. What's the real-time evolution? What happens and what's really changing the planet, changing the people? It's not technology, all these things. No, it's awareness that comes from the inner spiritual evolution.
I would like to ask you, Tarakeshwar, that the subject that you have taken on Durga, it's very much Indian subject. As you know, that everybody in India has got Durga Puja happening in West Bengal and India. And that seems to be the focused area where Durga is mostly appreciated and praised, and people worship the deity. And it's always said that this is part of her heart, a center heart. So she makes us fearless in the meditation I do. It's part of our heart chakra. As you know that this meditation is based on the chakras in our body system, which is a very subtle body system. And so my idea of filmmaking was that I touch upon the concept of the chakra and how it relates to our human awareness and how it relates to the way we deal with our life and with our situations, with our families, with the world around, and how are we able to cope with the problems of today's world. So what I really wanted to ask you was that how come that you living in Austria and you having spent so much time in researching on the subject of Durga, that it has any sort of existence overseas within in Europe, as I heard from you some sort of story that actually she she was researched and she was discovered 40,000 years back, and her roots are probably starting from. So please give me a brief on the journey traversed and those times when the concept of Durga emerged outside India. And I want to understand from you. You were telling me once.
Yes.
Could you please elaborate?
Yeah, the interesting thing how I found out is, as I know, the Devi Mahatmyam is one of my favorite books. That's my comics. I devour that. It's
the one
amazing.
Written by Markandeya. Yes.
And I was researching for some therapies I developed about ancient gurus. Then I came across Sri Markandeya, which again is a story for 10 podcasts. But he was one of the great, if you wish so, Indian sages. And I found out that he made an ancient, prehistoric, means not recorded, journey into Europe. And he meditated there for a year. And as at that time, thousands of years ago, Sri Durga was there, passed by. 40,000 years ago there were these battles, and then more or less nothing really happened on the cultural level. So it was quite calm, and you have to understand at these times there was no electrosmog. There was nothing, it was just empty. So the people who were subtle, they could feel, they could read the information that lies in the magnetic field of the earth. And he was meditating there, waiting to do another job, means to bring a part incarnation. That is another story. So he was waiting there and he was meditating and he was looking south, and then, like, as I understand, he was looking south and he said, oh, there was something happening. And in his meditation, because he took up the tracks of Sri Durga, all his knowledge came to him, and he had 1 year time, so he composed the Devi Mahatmyam. But he didn't, there was hardly anybody living here at the time. When he went back to India, he brought the treasure box back to India, and that's why from India, and as Sri Durga in that incarnation, that was her touching point with India. She went there to take Samadhi. Because as the Kundalini, as the female principle, that was her mainland. But her job was not there. Her job was somewhere else, to fight the Asuric forces, which were at that time mainly located in our area, let's say it wide. And that's how I stumbled, and I understood how the divine, like these incarnations, they open a quality for humanity that helps us later on in our collective spiritual growth. And as you mentioned, Sri Durga was there for the center heart. So it's a long time ago, even before Rama, Krishna, this time, she was there to give that motherly love. And if you think about whenever we're born, what is the first thing we need? Unconditional love is the basic of life, and that's the mother. But at that time, her children, the human tribes, if you wish so, small populations of hundreds of people, it was like a genetic laboratory at that time. were under big danger. Their culture was threatened, it was terrorized and destroyed. And nobody could stop that. And the story, which I put in a series, is now how could a small girl be born to kill the enemy of man? And that's the fascinating stuff. How this unfolds, how unbelievable this happens step by step. For me, that's a big miracle. And just talking about it, as let's go out, start filming.
Wonderful. So I can see that Durga's life was more about the good battling the evil, and the satanic forces that existed from time immemorial. They were always in battle with the gods who wanted to protect the sanctity of God's creation, which is human beings, and of course his entire creation. But here I find that in the life of Durga, she represents the mother of all mothers who took birth, I think, in her Rupa as Mahakali, in the Indian mythological text that is available now. And Durga represented the power of that Mahakali who could kill the Asuras. And in those maybe 40,000 years back, or many in the Stone Age time that you were talking about, how you're going to film those periods, that you are going to show those massive battles she had with the killing of Mahishasura and the Rakta Bija, and there were so many of those horrible negative forces. What do you call them? Evil demons or devils that were always there to destroy the good work. So there was something like, I felt that it was always a fight between the good and the evil from past so many ages. And then slowly, as we moved in the yugas, from, I think we start from Kali Yuga, and then we move into a Krita Yuga before we are going to enter into the Sattva Yuga, which is what is mentioned in our old scriptures, that we have actually transcended. We have taken a huge jump from one yuga to the other yuga, when we sit at the precipice of from Kriti Yuga getting into the Sat Yuga, which is the golden age, which is talked about in our scriptures. And so I feel that this transition that you are handling in your subject, in your project, is an amazing insight, a beginning to the very beginnings of the Shakti, the mother principle that was awakened in the early years. And that man who was to hunt and only feed had other responsibilities like family. And so you brought in all the aspects. I actually read a part of your script that you shared with me, and I really saw that there were family values in that, and yet we were in the Stone Age. And so please tell us something about what you wrote about this.
I mean, the interesting thing, it was a time where spirituality started to evolve, obviously. So the people, they could handle quite well life, they could handle even Ice Age, they could handle hunting skills were there, arts, the creation of art. This was the time of the Paleolithic cave painters. If you look at these caves, and if you're a painter, Lascaux in France or Chauvet, these are absolute masterpieces even for modern painters, and they transferred it hundreds and hundreds meters inside, and they were telling stories there. It was like the cinema, the cineplex of the ancient times. So everything was there, and people started believing in the spirituality of earth. They started with burial rituals, everything, and they were much higher evolved than we generally think. But the attack was there, spot on, and you see how how they attacked, you can see the principal idea of war. Everything is there, the seed is there. What happens in war? The men are killed and eradicated, and the women are abused. We had this in Europe, we had this every 200-300 years for thousands of years. So this is ancient problems we have as such, because you can never get a strong foundation for a culture. And in India you were more lucky from that point of view, because you were quite isolated a bit. You know, sometimes something came from east, went through the Ganges to directions Pakistan. So that, for instance, this problem is comes from the time of Mahabharata even, so it's an old problem. That's why it can't be solved now. It's not a Hindu-Muslim problem. It's much older. That's why it's very deep. And so that is super interesting what happened at that time, and because it lies it's so far back in mythology that it lies for us. It's like in the deep sea. And what I try to do with this story is to bring it to the surface. And when you feel and you talk about that story and you know the story or parts of the story, it's just like something that was hidden for a long time becomes alive. Because this is also the principle of our immune system. Something enters, a virus enters us, bacteria, hostile ones, our immune system. We have killer cells in us, you know. Yeah. So what I found out in a way that even war is a part of creation, because certain things we have to fight. And we need to understand, as human beings, we have to fight sometimes. What do we have to fight? What is the enemy? Yeah. And these are these powers who want to destroy me as an individual, us as a family, or us as a society. Adharma, all this impure knowledge.
Yes. So what is enshrined in our Mahabharata is what you're talking about really. That is an example that how the 5 Pandavas fought the 100 Kauravas, and with the help of the incarnation of Lord Vishnu and Krishna, Sri Krishna at that time, he brought in the Gita, the concept of the Gita, of you know how one can be collectively conscious and responsible for the upkeep of the dharma of man. And so we have got that enshrined in our Hindu scriptures and texts that you also very kindly acknowledge and accept as part of a global knowledge and science, actually.
Yes.
And what I can see that you have researched a lot. I think you told me that you have researched for more than 13 years.
Yes.
In fact, more than that.
Yes.
And you have visited all those places where Durga actually fought these asuras, and it's authenticated by your research. And
yes.
Of course, you'll come to know when you see his series propping up. But we are very, very keen to know, and we are very, very keen to learn when you come up with your first episode, and that I believe you're doing some 49 episodes in the first season.
Let's see. Yes, so there will be planned. There are 7 seasons with around 7 episodes, but let's see how this plays out.
Season. Yeah,
it can't be shorter.
Yes.
So it's epic. It's like one of the big spiritual epics of humanity as such, and it should be given, I think, more credit globally. You don't have to keep that in India only for yourself. That's forbidden.
No, it is global.
Yes,
it is actually, this knowledge is global,
and that's our idea always. And the interesting thing is that you actually work on the other side of the coin, because you are in the middle of setting up a big project. You have been with another incarnation, if you wish so, who lived in our times and who opened complete new options and perspectives and made created a kind of instant yoga that happens in a moment. And with your experience you had with Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi, that was your name, she gave you a lot of input, and now she passed away around 10 years ago, and now you're working on a unique project. Means you want to use like the eyewitnesses of so many spiritual happenings, miracles, and make it give the public the option of understanding the greatness of spirituality, how useful it is even practically in our day-to-day life. So would you just give us a glimpse about what you're up to? Because this is an amazing project
so,
too.
I started doing this meditation which involves the awakening of the Kundalini, and I learnt it from my mother, I would say. Her relationship with me was like a mother and a child, and I found it very interesting that she had the prowess, the powers, and she had the wherewithal to awaken that Kundalini within me. Although this Kundalini concept is there since ages, so many people have written about it, but the way it happened was so fast and so quick. It suddenly opened a lot of doors inside my plexuses. We have these subtle plexuses on our central nervous system, and they are also known as chakras. And if one is a little scientific to research about this, which I experienced within myself, the opening of the chakras, and then as we are thinking about the past, we are thinking about the future, but at the same time we can stay in the present. And I find most people do not stay in the present. They are either in the past, which is in the subconscious. They go deep into the past, they go into the subconscious, total subconsciousness, or they go into the future, the supraconsciousness, and they are lost because both are myths. Past is dead and future is yet to come. So we have this tendency when we think, we think of the dead. We think of what is not there. But what is there, what exists within us, is this beautiful subtle body system which has the 7 chakras, the Kundalini nicely sleeping on an isosceles of the Muladhara chakra, the first chakra, and then it pierces 6 chakras above on your central nervous system, which is the Sushumna, and it just opens the chakras. And once the chakras open, all your organs get the nourishment. And then they go right up to the brain. Once it reaches the brain, it gives you the thoughtlessness. It brings you to the center, completely in balance. You are neither in the past nor in the future. You are in the present. And at that time, you are in meditation. I call that as thoughtless meditation, thoughtless awareness. And in that state, when we are able to see all the world around us with the eye of the Shiva, who is the spirit within us. And so this experience, when it came to me, what I learned from Mataji, Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi, that in 1970 she opened the Sahasrara, what they call it as the 7th chakra, with the 1,000-petal lotus. And when she did that, a huge amount of gush of energy, of like a torrential rain that happened inside her. And it opened all the chakras, all the chakras of mankind. So I could see her as the incarnation of the great goddess, the Shakti. She in fact incarnated as Durga, and your times that you're talking about. And she also was the same energy as within us, the Saraswati, who was the consort of Brahma. And then she was also the energy of Mahesh, the Shiva, who was Parvati, and she was also the mother of Lord Jesus Christ, Mother Mary. She was the love and the affection of Lord Krishna, that was Sri Radha. She was the consort of Lord Rama, the Lord of Dharma, Ma Sita Mata. And so, if you see at the central navel of our body, she was in the Nabhi. She was in the Nabhi, the central, the third chakra, and there she existed as the Graha Lakshmi and the Rajya Lakshmi. And in the central channel, she rose as the Kundalini. And this Kundalini brought in all the changes on our central path, brought us to balance, and started emitting vibrations. And these vibrations, I felt all my life, these 40 years of practicing this meditation, they were so beautiful. They opened all the doors, all the paths of success that I wanted in life. So I felt, well, I have enjoyed this for the last 40 years. Having taken the cue from her about this meditation, I'm not the only one. There were people in, I think, over 135 or 140 countries whom she introduced this concept. And I was just a little fortunate that I was with her for more than 40 years. And in those 40 years, 25 years I spent in her presence, with her, traveling all over the world. And I was able to express what she was saying, and she was describing how this works within you, this amazing yoga. It's called Sahaja Yoga, which means it joins your inner power with the all-pervading power, and that joining is an experience called self-realization. The moment that self-realization set in and I could meditate, I could see my chakras opening, I could see all the organs getting their nourishment, I could see the whole world flowering and the fruits. I could taste those fruits. They were beautiful. I got the nourishment. I got the odor, the aura of this beautiful, wonderful spiritual life that I got from her. And then it became a part of me. And then she said, I am a mother and you are a child, and I have given you what a mother wants to give her child, is to make him the guru. So you become your own guru. And all the gurus that have come in this world are in your void. So the minute your attention goes into your Nabhi chakra, this is the third chakra, at that time you get all the satisfaction of the world. And that satisfaction is satisfied by the rising of the Kundalini. So all this happens simultaneously. You really do nothing. You surrender yourself to the all-pervading power of God's love that is around us. Now, in a nutshell, I've told you my experience and I told you how this works. So, now I'm coming to your subject, because I thought I should make some background to what I went through in these 40 years.
So you set up a big task for yourself to put all this beauty you just showed to us with your compassion and your passion, that you're working on a project, try to express it, the meaning, how to use it maybe, I guess so, and how to take advantage.
Yes, and in fact, I felt, why should I be the only one to own this beautiful life? Why don't I give it to the whole world? Because that's what she came to give. She came and gave it while she was there all these years before she left. And then she said she's created such beautiful flowers who have fragrance, who have such beautiful fruits that when people will get them, they will all get awakened. And this whole world can become a peaceful place. There will be no fights. There will be no putting each other down or having disease or having any kind. It will be like a man living in some sort of a heavenly atmosphere, bringing heaven on earth. I have felt that in my life, and I saw her telling me many times, the more you give this love, the more it comes to you. And this is like a reservoir that can never be filled. It is like you keep sharing something and you keep giving it to the world. So 10 years back, I decided I I'm going to make an audiovisual presentation of what my life experience is about. I would also like, I did that in my both the films. I started with Graha Lakshmi. This is the principle of the Nabi, of the left Nabi, where we are all in our worldly problems. And so how these worldly problems get solved when you meditate? That's part of the first film. I got one award for that film. That was in 2019. And thereafter, I worked during the COVID time on the script of my second film, Mahalakshmi Path, the Evolution, which means the central path of evolution, and how this whole knowledge, if it unfolds through the female power in the body as well as in the home. So who is the female power in the body, which is the Kundalini, and in the home is the wife, the daughter, the mother, the sister, and she plays a very important role in putting the whole family together, and how she brings happiness in the lives of the people because she meditates. She has these vibrations, and with her actions, with her deliberations, what she thinks, what she learns about the problems of people around her family and outside world, she provides solutions. So that's all I brought into my second film, Mahalakshmi Path, and it came out to be a 2-hour 5-minute film. And as you rightly said, it was released in 2023 until now. As I'm talking to you, we have received 5 awards today. And the highest award, the Dadasaheb Phalke Award, which is being done at the centenary of Dadasaheb Phalke, who's the father of Indian cinema. We have been receiving this award 3 times already through different film festival organizations. And I think we have already touched a figure of 116 awards as we are talking today. Okay. And this is the grace of the mother, it's the grace of the goddess, that her work, which she has so beautifully achieved in her lifetime, is a breakthrough in science. Actually, it's very scientific. So now what I want to do is, with my next project, is that I want to bring this science of spirituality, of awakening, of Sahaja Yoga in the forefront, and let people know what this science is, how it works, and how it has worked. So we have documented proof of people who have been transformed in their lives when they have practiced this meditation. And I am calling my next series as Transformation. And I hope it becomes a long web series with miraculous experiences of people who've been through their transformation. And then I would also like to show the advent of the Shakti, the coming on earth of the incarnation, Her Holiness Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi, who started this process of Sahaja Yoga in 1970, and she has just recently completed more than 100 years since she was born, and Sahaja Yoga is more than 52 to 53 years now old, and I am 40 years old in it, so you can imagine it was just 10 years old when I stepped into it, and I had the fortune and access to all the knowledge directly from Her Holiness. At her lotus feet, I actually learned a lot from her, and this is my heart desire, that when this series comes out, it will tell you about this history of how she came on earth and how our chakras are made and how they are supposed to work, and how man, when he practiced this meditation, actually could achieve everything that he wants to. So you can make a human being, transform a human being into a better human being. Means you give up all the bad things. So all these Rakshasas that the Durga was killing, they actually did not die. They became viruses and they went into our brains.
They became desires, all that. And that's one thing I must add. Please watch Mahalakshmi Path, because you do a unique thing that was not possible 10 years ago, I think, because you give the idea, it's an enlightened knowledge of what kind of traditions, auspicious or based on the divine principle, what kind of traditions make sense, and if we don't value these traditions, we will not succeed as mankind, as we see Western society, whatever. The society destroys itself when it doesn't obey certain rules, and we should be aware of it. And the amazing science of yoga is that they call it antar yoga also, that it's the science is an inner science. That means I don't need telescopes, I don't need rockets, I don't need satellites. I can go out into exoscience or I can go inside. And when I look inside, I will come to the same conclusions than when I go outside. But it's much cheaper. And in India they had a better climate than here, so they could meditate, and they found out about atoms, about everything is described thousands and thousands of years back by looking inside through the idea of meditation. And so you give the whole thing, as I understand it, is you give a kind of key to society. Use it or you don't use it, but you can open all the doors. And if you stay on the right path, you will live more or less in heaven, like with daily ups and downs. But
Yes,
generally speaking, the direction is upwards. And this is what I like very much. This idea, don't be like a missionary, forcing it, but just showing, look, this is heaven. Join it or not, it's your decision. And this discrimination, we have to learn becoming, if you want to become your own guru, at least you have to learn about discrimination. And that's from Durga on to what your focus is on Shramataji, this is always the same thing. That's why good and evil exists, because this is our sandbox for us as human beings to learn, oh, this hurts, this is good.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. I think one of the basic ideas. Why don't we share something that is so beautiful?
Yes.
And everybody can gain something.
And I think, Rakeshwar, I think we must feel responsible as human beings. As animals, we've been through so many jonas of existence. I think over the ages, we have come from amoeba to become mammals. Now, why have we become human beings? We can change the course of the life and the world ecology and everything. I mean, human beings are so powerful. That's what I learned from Mother. She said that we human beings have a responsibility towards a better world order. So how do we do that? If we meditate and if we stay in the balance, we can stay away from adharma, which is we can stay within the boundaries of existence that God has created for us. Now, just to give you an example, the animals, the birds, the weather, they all follow a dharma, right? They don't go out of bounds. They follow a certain pattern of life. But human beings can do what they like. They are free. And in their freedom, you can make an atom bomb and you can destroy each other. You can hate each other. You can kill each other. You can disrespect the female power which exists in our families. You can create people who alcoholism, drugism, theft. There is so much of tension. There is so much of worrying about life, about survival, and we are running fast here and there trying to make our lives and ends meet. But what are we doing at the end of the day? We are wasting our time. Why don't we meditate? Why don't we come in the focus of the dharmic life that God has created for us? And I tell you, if we were able to do this, all these viruses, all these negative rakshasas that used to exist in those old ages, they who have entered into the brains of the human mind, they exist in form of all this negativity that is around in the world. Hatred, bad language, sex, drugs, so much abuse of. Why can't we respect? Why can't we respect the sanctity of our dharma? So what is this dharma? So all this is self-revealing. I don't need to give you a lecture on this. All I can say is it is an experience that I have had in my life. I want you to go through our movies, our series that we are coming up with very fast, very soon, is to make you aware that you have this power, you can use this power, and once you use this power, you become one of the first citizens of the world, that there is no boundary between human beings. We are all one. We are all bound by the love of our Almighty God who has created us, and we need to respect that. We need to surrender to that big power. We must learn to be like a mother. So that's what I learned from Shri Mataji, that if you are like a mother, you are forgiving, you are compassionate, you have a big heart, you are always pleasing others, you say nice things, you bring up others like children around you, and everybody lives like one big happy family. You may be an American, you may be Canadian, you may be an Austrian, you may be an European, you may be an Indian, Asian, African, wherever you are part of one global family. And this is what we call it as the Vishwa Nirmala Dharma, which is the universal pure religion of man. We believe in all religions. We believe in all incarnations. We know that there are three great incarnations, the three great Shaktis born out of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, which is nothing but Mahesh is the Shiva Tattva, Vishnu is the one who incarnated almost 10 times. Now the 10th incarnation, Lord Kalki, is about to come. And you know the wrath of Lord Kalki. So those who are reading scriptures must go into the depth and find out what are we in for in the coming years. And these series, if you watch carefully, they are nicely documented. They are authenticated. We have real stories to tell you about the experiences people have had and how they have felt the transformation. And I'm saying simple transformation. Transformation like you were an angry man, you're no longer angry. You were a very miserly person, now you are very large-hearted. You used to abuse women, now you can't even think of abusing a woman. You respect them. You used to drink a lot of alcohol, it's not good for your system. It just left you. You just never came to know when alcohol left you. You just don't feel like having it. You used to have drugs, and now you're drug free. And I have examples of people having been through this. Even diseases like cancer, AIDS, we've seen people get out of it simply by doing this meditation. And there is so much power in this meditation, you'll be surprised that you can change things around, you can move the elements. It has so much of promise, but all you have to do is start somewhere and then go deep and deep and deep, and you'll find this whole human race entering into the golden age which is now coming. So you started with the ice age, the old times, and I'm talking of the new times where there is a huge jump happening now to get into the golden age. And I hope that both our projects can connect and merge at some point.
Yes, supporting each other, and because as far as we have talked about your ideas of the series, we can sum it up maybe as, if you look for freedom, eternal freedom, you will find it only in spirituality, but you will not grow in spirituality when you don't keep to the boundaries, to, as you call it, dharma in Sanskrit, the boundaries, your ethic and moral boundaries. You're free to disobey them, no problem. You can harm others yourself. That's the so-called free will. But the freedom you won't find at that level. A family has its own dharma. Society has its own dharma, its own ethics, and all this. Human beings know it. When you disobey, you will see, watch it. One empire goes down, the next empire is always the same. It's the decline coming in, because people think, especially nowadays in the materialistic times, they get freedom through money and power. No, sorry. Power is a different idea. So freedom you can find in spirituality, and I think that's what that series will be amazing. It will give, as I understand, so many examples. And so we're all waiting of it, and we'll try to link all our efforts up. And you can find Sanjay's contact also, because he didn't tell us about it. He's an amazing, very famous singer in India, and you should listen to his songs. We'll link that all up. That's another story. You will find it on his channel. But for today...
But I want to say one thing. Tarakeshwara is very knowledgeable about the work I'm doing. So I need you, Tarakeshwara, by my side to guide me also, because my content is among us. I'm really doing research to see that I'm very, very authentic in what I tell. It's not created out of anywhere. It's out of real experiences. But I know that you have some knowledge which you also learned from Her Holiness, Shri Mataji, about these the 5 basics of human character, and then those 6 levels that you said.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate a bit about that?
Yeah, I researched a lot because I had a different task also, besides to establish some new therapy forms. And so I researched a lot about something that is very well known in the Ayurveda, because you had these Ashwins. There's the spiritual part, we call it energetical part in the West, and there's the part of the body. And when you work in medicine, for instance, you always have to think about both things, and you have to see where the disease really lies. But the energetic field is there is the reasons, whatever. And what I found out through meditation research, and then trying to work with people to support them, the clients, does it really work? How does the system work? I found out that, generally speaking, as a human being, we have these 5 layers. The evolutionary power, which is the Kundalini, dormant. The emotional being, it's the magnetic fields where all information, a lot of information lies. Then the spirit, with the element powers, the electromagnetic aura, you would say. There is the information of past lives. Then there's the mind, which is blown up too much nowadays. It's our nervous system, whatever, the computer that works, manages everything. And the 5th layer of the human being is the body. So usually we find problems there. There, the medicine is the field, how we can heal or whatever. But the interesting thing in my research I found out, and that's another thing I want to focus on. People talk a lot here in the West about chakras and healing chakras. Think or meditate about one sentence. A chakra won't be open if the Kundalini is not awakened. Because it's like in a plant, that's the sap. The right Ida and Pingala Nadi, they give the shell for the chakra, but it won't never open unless the Kundalini does it, not we. So that's one important thing. So most of the people are in an imaginary world of working with the chakras. They don't have a realization their Kundalini is not awakened. That's a clear thing that, okay, it's still on this level. It has nothing to do with real meditation. That's just a side point. But now, when the Kundalini is awakened, we are in a complete new development. So we have been monkey, we have been human being, if you want so, then being a human being till reaching that first raising of the Kundalini, the self-realization. In the past, this was an enterprise of lifetimes. You didn't find a guru who managed to do this, maybe for one disciple. So it was impossible, and that's why always incarnations come in the play when it looks very bad, the situation, because we messed it up again as human beings. And that was the last incarnation. Sri Mataji just made up that new path. So first the Kundalini rises, and then the chakra open. We can become our own guru. But once, what happens technically, when this Kundalini rises, you can say, okay, it's kind of layers of 6 different super important topics appear in our life. And this is the journey from becoming a seeker of truth, of God, of love, whatever, how you want to call it, the divine. There are certain stations on this path you have to cross, but it's not a one way, this one, so it's a bit chaotic. It happens individually in your own pace and whatever. And first you need to understand what is an incarnation, because these incarnations, they were the ones who opened the principle of our chakras in our spiritual evolution. And most of them, you're lucky, lived in India. Here we know only mostly Jesus, which is here for the Agya chakra. That's the one they miss out in India. They know all the others, but about Jesus, it's a bit difficult. So you see that how we all have to work together. That's an important principle. What does the divine do to support human beings to grow spiritually, to join paradise again with if we take a biblical idea. So we need to know about incarnations, about all incarnations best, because we have certain chakras and they were the ones who opened it in spiritual history. So we cannot say, okay, Jesus is good, but forget about Mohammed, forget about Rama. It doesn't work, because then we say, okay, forget about my right heart chakra, forget about my void or whatever. It doesn't work. So these are the flowers on the tree of life, if you wish so. Then there is vibrations, the Param Chaitanya, which is the all-pervading vibrations that they go through the whole universe. You won't feel them, they pass through you only when the Kundalini rises. And then she opens this element powers, she opens the ether element. Then we have a subtle instrument to feel that vibrations that pass through the universe. Suddenly, like you put up an umbrella and then you feel the rain is. So that's technically what happens. So Param Chaitanya is one. Then comes the pure knowledge. That means what is really true, what is the divine creation, how it is built, how does it work. There's a blueprint that was already established before material creation came into play. There's another big topic. The next one is Dharma. Dharma is you fulfill your role, you take your responsibility as a human being. And the interesting thing is, when people evolve spiritually and they are on this path, seen from a therapist's eye, you cannot help them anymore when they don't fulfill their dharma. They are spiritual persons, but they don't fulfill their dharma because they think, no, I'm afraid. I didn't watch the Durga series yet, so I'm still afraid, and I can't do this, I can't speak about this to people. Then the center is closed, whatever, and they don't fulfill their dharma, and they have a jam of vibrations inside, and they suffer a lot. But they don't suffer on the body level, and on these levels, nobody can help them. They have to grow spiritually, take this step and say, oh, now I have to fulfill my dharma. In that moment, everything will go puff, and they will become healthy. That's dharma. And then the last one, 10 and 11, is 10 is the divine blend. So there is a divine blueprint. You start understanding, oh, that's how everything works. And the last one is, the second last one is melting with the divine plan. So you understand, oh, there is this divinity. So you give up your ego completely. You throw your conditionings aside. Say, let's see what happens today. Let's go with the flow. Oh, we make a movie. Okay, we follow a path. 2 years later, he wins 116 prizes and awards, because he followed that path. And the last one is the divine plan. When you melt completely, that's the like achieving the enlightened Guru Tattva, that principle of the Guru. When you are one of the divine plan, then you give up that idea, okay, I achieved something. Then he sits there with an instrument for the divine and says, look, it is like this, and there are no doubts anymore, and all these things. And you see, this is a huge world that's actually much vaster than these 5 layers of the human being. But this only comes into play once our Kundalini rises, just as an initiation. And from that moment on, we can grow into that. If we want, we set ourselves our limits. We can go any far, but then you will see the Dharma applies more and more. If you go against the Dharma, you say, no, I go down, I don't go up. And then you get this idea, okay, freedom, yes, in spirituality, but I cannot have all the power of the world, and rule this billionaire idea. It's completely silly, because no, you cannot do that. But you can be one with that eternal power, and that's the spiritual evolution. And that was developed, this idea, it was not developed. In India they understood, oh, this is the plan of God. And they developed a method or methods how to walk that path of that divine plan. And that's the whole idea of yoga. And now we're in such revolutionary times, you cannot imagine that it's so easy to achieve something. And this series, especially what you are planning, I think, plays into these hands, because this was my personal technical description about it. Many years of research and thing, and how it really works. And that was the things that Shri told you and us about. Look, it was all about these different fields, like children, bringing them further and further, and you can grow into it. And that's, I think, especially the series you're working on. I can't wait, and also the movie later on about Shri Matajji's life. That will be new masterpieces, and
it's a big challenge actually. I hope we can do something, and I want all the creative artists in this world who believe in spirituality and believe in changing the world order to be a better place to live in harmony, peace, and we have one family. Please join me, all of you, and join us and watch our work. I don't know how much we will be able to give you back, but we are trying our best. It's a vast, vast field, and right now you can see my hands are shaking with vibrations, because so much has been said about the divinity, that the divinity has now started appearing as cool vibrations flowing out of my hands. And if you can put your hands out, you can actually feel them in the center of your palms, or you could feel it on top of your head. It's really a cool breeze, which is your own Kundalini, which has risen up to the Sahasrara, which is the 1,000-petal lotus of the 7th chakra. And once we are there, everything will work out. By God's grace, by the grace of the Mother, and with all your people's good wishes and blessings, I would like to thank Tarakeshwara for this pretty long session. We had a very positive discussion on our creative projects and how we see them, how we have grown through our lives, trying to put them in the celluloid form, in the format of a movie or a teleseries or a web series that you can watch from now onwards for years and years, and educate yourself on how to be self-evolved and be your own master and have all the controls in your hand, and we live in peace and harmony as one world. I wish you all the best, Tarakeshwara, for your project. Any help you need from me, I'll be available for you all the time, at least from India.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming here and giving the time, because tomorrow you have to leave.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to support with your desire, with a positive attention, that's already enough, to begin with. Everybody, and when you desire for something, you already become a part of it, and hopefully you will get rewarded by going on a streaming service or whatever and watching the adventurous thing. And remember one thing, that yoga, meditation, Saja Yoga, and that it's the biggest adventure you can ever imagine. And that meaning, all the best.
This is
Bye-bye.
this is our international collaboration between India and the whole world. Tarakeshwara, for me, he's a very, very well-learned man, and he's out on a very great mission to bring to the world this beautiful knowledge of the Shakti, the Durga, who is the fearless, and that is his series.
Exactly.
And
So
look
watch
forward.
out
Yes,
for
we
fearless
look forward. God
and
bless
for
you.
transformation.
And God bless us
Yes.
all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.